the latter half of the question. The first half of the question is if you're in a situation where you are easily offended at things, and let's face it, human nature, we're going to be offended. That's just the nature of life. Okay. That's the nature of, having conversation. In fact, I was in the UK. We were talking off script for 2 weeks. One of my best friends got married, which was awesome to see him and his bride, and went to go see, the UK, London, Wales, Scotland, and seeing all the museums and the history. And museums and history are filled with war and battle and conflicts through the dawn of time. So there is going to be conflict in human nature. That is just the reality of the situation. But if you find yourself easily, I guess, offended, I would encourage you to take a step back, take a deep breath. And I learned this from Jocko Willink, one of his four principles of leadership. It's detach from the situation. So it's human nature to really perceive sometimes as things as personal attacks, when the reality of the situation is the person delivering that message probably didn't mean for it to be a personal attack and is no way intending that to be personal on you. He's just communicating how whatever they think or feel. So take a step back, detach from the situation, and then really look at it from an objective perspective. Is this person have mean intent, or are they just sharing their viewpoint? And then from there, also, something really stings you. What I've really learned about leadership and about feedback is sometimes there's an element of truth in that, and sometimes the truth hurts. So, taking a step back and realizing, hey, is there some truth in that? Kind of like going back to the story of my friend telling me I have islands for nipples. Yeah, it wasn't a fun thing to hear, but taking a step back, if I detach from the situation, there was some probably truth in it, and it really lit a fire into me. I could have gotten mean or negative or sad about it, but I was like, you know what? He's actually right. I'm going to do something about it. And because of that, my life changed. So hopefully, it's a great question, a two-part question that gives some really tangible advice for someone listening and learning.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think like from the getting feedback side of things, I'm almost like trying to actively create a framework through which to digest feedback. It's like you said, ask yourself, was it a mean intent or were they just sharing their viewpoint? And then you can also ask like, if the person is an expert, or like, do they have a ground with which they can stand on when they're providing feedback? Like maybe they're sharing their viewpoint, but they have no idea what they're talking about in the realm with which they're talking about. So it's like, push it off to the side. Maybe it's mean intent, but like they are an expert in the area, and so you should actually, listen to it. So I think there's different ways to think about it, but I think that was great. The next thing I want to get to is the mindset behind motivation. You talked about how one of the catalysts was, we keep going back to this quote, which is hilarious, but it looks like you have islands for nipples. And like most people, or a lot of people, initiate their health and fitness transformation because of pain or a fear of consequence, because my belt loop is not, my pants aren't fitting the way that they're fitting. I see the way that my parents are aging, and I don't want to age that way, right? So it's kind of like fear-based motivation that gets them going. But what I find is like that's good for providing urgency in the moment and getting them going. But I feel like it's important to develop a good vision on how to not just work out of the place that you want to avoid, but work towards the person that you wish to become. Talk about it from your perspective. Was that the case for you? Like, did you come up with like a new vision on what health and fitness meant to you, or kind of when do you feel like it transitioned from purely maybe fear-based motivation or pain-based motivation towards like a love-based motivation or a vision-based motivation?
Oh my God. I love that question, Nick. I don't think I've ever been asked that before, but that is so true. And we're talking about the fitness realm, but you could apply that and, to, a lot of different frameworks in your life. But I think it's okay to start from a fear-based, motivation. For me and for human nature, that's okay. Do what you can with what you have. So if you're in a situation where you want to get better, and that fear-based, that pain-based motivation, what you have, execute that and use that as leverage to get you in a better point. But to your point, that's not going to long term what's get you there. And I'll use this example of actually Tom Brady, okay, the GOAT, the greatest quarterback of all time, won 7 Super Bowl championships. He was drafted by Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots on the 6th round, 199th pick, okay, the greatest quarterback of all time. 198 people were picked in front of him. Okay. So for the first few years in the league, Tom's Brady, his motivation was fear-based. It was pain-based. It's like, I'm going to show the 198 picks in front of me, all the owners who picked them, that I'm the man that ultimately they made a bad decision. So that's how Tom attacked it. And he used that fear-based leverage or motivation as leverage to get him to the next level. And then, of course, he won one Super Bowl, which turned into two. But let's face it, after Tom Brady had won 3 or 4 Super Bowls, he ended up winning 7. When in his 4th Super Bowl, he wasn't looking to the team and saying, I'm going to prove the 198 guys wrong. At that point, he's already done that. So he needed to graduate and find something different. And from him, I can only imagine, but it would legacy, it would be impact. That was like the positive, the vision-based motivation that he adjusted to. So for me in fitness, it was probably the first 2 years, it was fear-based, it was pain-based motivation. I wanted to get outside, away from a lethargic, depressed, a guy who didn't have a lot of things going from a confidence perspective into a better place. And I did that. And about 2 years in my journey, what I realized is working out did way more than just, from a physical perspective. The mental clarity that it provided me was absolutely critical. So about 2 years in the journey, what I realized is as I continue to optimize my health and fitness, I realized the mental game by providing, strong workouts and good, clean nutrition, it just allowed me to operate mentally so much better. So about 2 years of my journey is really when it switched from fear-based to vision-based. And that's been my story. And you can, again, apply that framework. And I use my fitness story. I use Tom Brady to a lot of different concepts within life.
Yeah, I love it, because I think that if you continue just with the fear-based motivation, you're going to hold yourself back from actually achieving what you could achieve, right? It's like Tom Brady, again, obviously I've never talked to him to see when it changed, but it's like it was proving the 198 people wrong, or that he was better than them. And then it was like, now I have the vision of being the greatest of all time. And that's what I'm working towards, because I think when you're acting off of that fear-based motivation, you are holding back some of your potential. But no, I think that's really great. And I think that's super important for, like you said, all areas of life.